All right, what's up? What's up? What is going on, good people? What is going on? I wanted to come on here today and just give a little, I don't know if you want to call it a little tutorial. I got a question came through about how to add proofing to your images, and I felt that it would be good to kind of describe the process so that people know as they go along in their photography journey. And why not document these things so that they can provide value to other people that want to come and find them, right? So here's my thought process. Not putting any music or anything, I don't think, behind this just yet. I might throw something on the track on the back end. But here's my thing. I feel that proofing your images is imperative when you're in the business of photography. I think that adding your proof to an image allows you just a little bit of protection to kind of identify if someone A has taken your image without your permission. B, it is also a deterrent so people don't take your images without your permission. And this works especially if you're working in a business model that provides a certain amount of images, but you're providing the customers with the ability to make their own selections or their own proofing selections. And by doing so, it gives them the power to decide on the images that they want. By adding proofs to your images, it's not to destroy the image like I said, it's more of a deterrent, it's more of a protection thing for yourself that you put this over your images. Mine specifically, when I edit images, I apologize, when I send images, a good percentage of those images are close to 100% of those images are not edited. They do not have the full edits or the final edits. They are taken from the camera. They are adjusted for exposures and colors and things of the like, and then they're delivered to the client so that they can make the selection based on what they want. A lot of times your clients are making the selections on images based on what they see or what they're looking at, like my facial expression, how my hair was, all of the specifics. But if your clients are comfortable with the images that they're selecting, then you're gonna have a great end result. If you do the selection and they don't like the images, then there's a lot of back and forth. I personally allow my clients to decide on the images that they want. And by doing so, I send them proofs or selections from a set of images that we have. So if we had a session, the session had 500 images, and I went through those 500 images and I pulled out 250. And out of those 250, they're able to select 25. By selecting these 25, uh, allowing them to select the 25 allows them to select the images that they want. Now, I don't have a package. None of my packages really give 25 inclusive, especially on like the entry level packages. But that's a different story for a different time and a different video. Y'all have to subscribe for all that. You know what I mean? But anyway, moving on. I think that it's good to have this proofing process here because a lot of times you'll upload these to whether it be like your photo editor, such as like Pixie or Shootproof or whatever you're uploading to. You'll upload these to these platforms, and your clients will go on there, and they'll send that link to someone else, and someone else, if someone else was in that photo, they might screenshot it, and then next thing you know, it winds up on Facebook, and you're looking at like, why is that proof up there, or why is there a screenshot? I know that client didn't get that one. So if you proof them, then it shows proof. And like I said, it's usually a deterrent. Like nobody wants to post something with proof on it. It's just something they don't want to do. So in these instances, by proofing your images, you allow yourself a little bit of deterrent and protection. It also lets people know that those images are not edited. Usually proofs do not have final edits. If you think about the same equation I gave you, 500 images taken, 250 images delivered, 25 selections. If you think you're going to edit 250 images and deliver them to the client for the client to make a selection of 25, that is a big waste of time. Now, if you, depending on the type of editor you are, depending on the type of how you operate your business is totally different. That's a totally different process. But I believe that in these scenarios, Adding your proof onto the images allows you to turn them around faster and deliver them the proof so that they can make the selections. After they make the selections, then you can go ahead and start with the editing process, because if they're only selecting 25, you're doing 10% of the whole. You don't have to do the whole 250 because they're not going to select them. And if there's any that you wind up using later on, you can use those at your own discretion. So you don't have to necessarily worry about that. But let's move into the proofing process. And I'm going to use Lightroom for this. I haven't used Lightroom in I'd probably say about 2 years now. I kind of moved over to Capture One, and I use Capture One exclusively. But I pay for the Adobe platform to get Photoshop. So and a lot of new users or new photographers that are coming into the business are using Photoshop. So I am going to provide you guys with a Photoshop tutorial. So we're going to stumble through this together. I'm going to see how good my Photoshop skills, my Lightroom skills have gotten. So here I have a spread of images that I have from a shoot that I had done back in July. And this is just some shots of some food that they were preparing. And I wanted to use this for the proofing purposes. So with this, and now with this, I just want to, kind of preference this. It's that this is subjective. This is just kind of how I do it. If you want to handle it a totally different way, or you don't want to proof at all, and you just want to go about screenshotting and sending, that's totally okay with me. Totally okay. I'm not trying to tell you that this is the way you should do it. I'm just trying to give you an alternative to something you may already be doing, and give you an opportunity to add something and add a little polish and add a little protection for your images that you're putting out there on the internet. Now let's move forward. So the proofing process is done in the export section. You can get there by going to File and Export, or you can use Control Shift and E if you're on Windows, or Command Shift and E if you're on a Mac. By doing this, it brings you into the export window. And in the export window, this is a whole thing in itself. So I'll just, kind of preface that by saying this is going to be a whole entire thing by itself, as far as how to export, what size you should make your images, things like that. It's going to be a whole thing in itself. So, but what I like to do is I like to go into watermarking. And this is where your proofing goes. So you're going to go to watermark. You're going to go to edit watermarks. And now, as you can see down here, I have this little box on the bottom that says copyright. Now, when you're using, and up at the top, you have custom, and then on the right, you have this watermark style. So you have the option to choose text or graphics. We're going to do both today. And right now, I'm just going to run through the text process. So here in the text process, what you're going to write down here is what's going to show in the image. So let's go ahead and try that. Let's do Sean. I can't type tonight. Sean Evans Photography. Right? All right, cool. So we have Sean Evans Photography in there. Now you can use these and kind of this little grab area, and you can kind of make it bigger. You can kind of resize this if you want. I'm going to leave it at that size because I want to kind of show you a couple of things. One, if you had something bigger, you had a smaller file and a bigger window, the alignment will align the text to, it'll align the text to the left, middle, or right. I like to use center. I want everything in the center when I'm doing this. I do not like any shadow on mine, so I can take it off. If we were to make this bigger, you would see the shadow. It's on you if you want to do that. If I turn the shadow on and off, you can kind of see where it is. So I don't personally like to add it because this is a very basic process that we're going to do, and just make it easier. We're not even going to do any of that. Now here's very important. A very important area. These are your watermark effects area. First, you have your opacity, and this is going to be your clarity. And this is cool. Learn this for Photoshop. It's the same exact thing. Opacity is the transparency of an image, of whatever it is you're adjusting. So your opacity will make an item stronger or less strong, softer or harder, soft, hard, soft. So you have the options there. I like to leave mine somewhere around the middle area. And here under the size, you have proportional. So you can change these proportions to be bigger. I mean, you can be all the way up to 150 or all the way down to 5. Sometimes people have the small watermarks in the corner and you just have it right there. Totally cool. Totally cool if you want to do this as a watermark. My watermarks initially, and I'm only speaking about proofing, so you can add more than one style here. So initially, we're going to add the proofs. Let's do this for proofing. So I'm not going to really touch this, but what I am going to do before I go forward is I'm going to show you that you have this a little further down. You have your inset and then you have your anchor. Your inset is your movement between the full bottom and the full left or right of the borders here. And then your anchor is going to be where this is going to, where this corner where the S is going to sit, or the Y. So anything on the left is going to anchor on the left side, anything in the middle is going to totally center, and then anything on the right is going to anchor based on that Y all the way, whether it be at the top, medium, or bottom. So you only have these anchors, but you also have the ability to rotate. So let's check it out. And as you can see here, we put it in the middle. I'm going to leave it in the middle, and you can also rotate it if you wanted to have it sideways, upside down. You know, it just depends. You might only take portrait, not landscape photos. If you only took portrait photos, then it applies for that. Now, what I'd like to do here specifically, you have this proportional. I just like to make it fit. That's just my thing. I mean, you can do the proportion. The proportion is going to vary based on the size of the image. So if you do any cropping, it's going to make the image smaller. If you get a different camera with more megapixel, it's going to make it smaller. So just kind of keep that in mind when you're doing this. For sake of what we're doing today, we're just going to keep it in the middle. So by adjusting your opacity, I don't like to leave it at 100 and just let it see, because sometimes you'll have like somebody might be wearing something white and you can't see, or maybe they're looking at their facial expression and you have this over it. So let's go ahead and drop that down. I'm going to keep it somewhere in the 40 range. It kind of gives a good balance. And we're going to take this, let's take photography off and let's do unedited. Let's add a little dash in there, right? Add some spaces. All right, so you have the unedited here. It tells the person that's looking at the images that these are unedited. And then all you have to do here is come in here. You're going to save this as a new preset, and let's just call it SE text. There we go. Real simple. Click done. Now, in the post-processing, I'm going to have it open in Photoshop. You got to save it as a file. I'm going to overwrite it because I've done this already. And now it's going to open in the new file. And you can see it here, Sean Evans unedited. Now look here, even look in this little area right here. You see how the food is here and then it's light and it's like right underneath it. It's really good because you can still kind of get an idea of what everything looks like without adjusting, without having to like overlay. If you had that at like 80 or 90, it would just be a white piece, and maybe that was an important part, maybe that was the ring, or maybe that was a focal point or something of that nature. So you kind of just want to have it like that. Now we can go back. Let's go back to Photoshop, and this time we're going to come in and we're going to do it a little bit different. We're going to do it with an image. So let's go to File, Export. We're going to keep the watermark in. We're going to go to Edit Watermarks. Now, when you're in this watermark editor, the minute you go to change something, it's going to say edited, but you also have the option to save it as a new preset. What I like to do is I like to go and save it as a new preset at the end. And what that does is that allows me to make all the changes here, and then when I'm done, I'll change it. So we're going to change this to a graphic. And as you saw, it automatically came up with graphics here. And in this graphics area, I have a proof already set up. These are all my overlaid logos. And some of the things that I do, I have these logos for different things, and they're different sizes. Use these on my website. They're used at the top for branding. They're used on my business card. They're used for everything. This one I created pretty much in Photoshop. If you want to know how to create your own proofing or learn that beginning process, definitely leave a comment below. I'll definitely go ahead and get that out for you. I'm just going to try to keep these short, really, really short, but I like to keep it in depth so you learn something. Some of these fundamentals can be used for anything else. And as you can see here, I've got it at 41%. I'm going to see if you have it like this. It's, the white is just very powerful. I like to have it a little subtle so that you know it's there, but not too subtle. So I might bring this down to like 34, 35 maybe, and just kind of see how it looks. Now, remind you, we have to save it as a new preset. We're going to call this SE image, IMG. Create that. We're going to click done. And then we're going to click export. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to wait for Photoshop to come up. It's going to overwrite. Yeah, let's overwrite it. All right, update it. It takes a minute. All right, boom. There you go. So if you see this gives you like a little bit more professional view. In my opinion, it does. And it also says proof. Now, this is on a dark background. On a lighter background, you would see it more. I left the proof, again, let's talk about opacity that I talked about earlier. In the actual file that I created, I made the opacity of the letters proof very light, lighter than the one of my name. The reason I wanted to do that is because now it kind of is like, it stamps right there. And it just looks really nice. So this is pretty much how you would go ahead and set up your proofing. Now you're saying, well, what if we go to a different image? Let's do a little bit of adjustment here. I'm just going to bring up the exposure on this image so that we can see what's going on. Now I'm using a portrait style image. We're going to do the exact same thing. So this time we're going to go to export, but this time I already have them both in here. I've already saved them. So now all I have to do is click export on SE image. Guess what? It's going to go ahead and move it over to Photoshop. When it opens in Photoshop, it's going to show up with that proof on it. And that is how you add proofs to your images. So I hope you liked everything. Again, I wanted to keep it really quick. On this Tuesday, I'm going to go ahead and put this out. We're going to put this on YouTube. Check me out on YouTube at Sean Evans Photography. You can check me out on Instagram at Evans_PhotoG. You can also find me on Facebook at Sean Evans Photo. Don't ask me why all three of these are different. Don't judge me. But if you're looking for more information, I definitely will be dropping a little more. Like I said, leave some information in the comments of some of the things you want to see, if you want to see something more specific, and we can go ahead and get into it. I thank you for your time. Hope this helped. And as always, we stay students, stay learning, and have a good day. Peace.